Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. Due to YouTube's changing quote-unquote community standards, I created a channel called Grumpy Old Fart over on Rumble, a free speech alternative to YouTube. You can see all of my stuff over there, including my political and social commentary, as well as my current events videos. The links to my YouTube and Rumble channels, as well as links to let you order my books, are in the description of this video. If you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. I welcome your comments, even if you disagree with me. Now, on with the video. Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing an AD&D advice video on supplies. This may seem like a trivial thing to make a video about, but I had an interesting thing happen the other day. My son lamented to me that his D&D group that he runs a game. They never seem to understand that when you go into a dungeon with a group of player characters, you have to bring whatever you need, because you can never guarantee that you will or won't find in a, you can never guarantee what you will or won't find in a dungeon crawl. My son runs 5th edition D&D, and his group spent an inordinate amount of time in a town prior to the dungeon crawl, and nobody bothered to stock up on supplies. So, several days into the dungeon crawl, he asks, "So, how's your food holding up?" "What? Food? What do you mean?" "Food. You've got to be eating something." "Well, I don't have any food." "Well, do you?" "Don't know. I don't have any food." That kind of thing. I was reminded of a group that I was running about 20 years ago. I was the dungeon master. I was running this group. They each had between 2 and 3 weeks of food, a couple of water skins, and reasonably appropriate weaponry and missile ammo. Then they started the dungeon crawl, which they didn't know it at the time, and they did something unexpected. I didn't realize they were going to take a turn and find this particular item. But because of this, it was a surprise to me as well. But since I have the world all mapped out, I got to go where they go. I'm the dungeon master. I can't tell them what to do. They do it. The world reacts. This turned into a major excursion into the Underdark. The tunnels were sparse and had no vegetation. They ran into an underground stream, which kept them hydrated for about the first month or so, and that was cool. And they had some fish there, but, nothing major. After that, they were in deep kimchi. They had a battle with some deep gnomes, and out of necessity, they developed a few recipes for a leg of gnome. After the 4th month, the group actually turned to cannibalism. Yeah, things got hairy after that. Nobody even mentioned turning back. That's the key. One thing as a player that you have to do is make sure you have iron rations which don't go bad. Standard rations are great, they taste good, but they go bad after a week. Iron rations last virtually forever. That's why they cost more. You have to have water, you have to have arrows, and other consumable items that you may need. If you go to half rations, 10 days of food becomes 20 days. And that's, you can do that. Food can be stretched to some degree. Water is something that you cannot stretch. At most, a water skin will last a human being 5 to 6 days, and that's really pushing it. We're talking pushing it to the wall there. Under normal conditions, a water skin will last a human 2 days. As a dungeon master, make sure your players are keeping careful track of their food, water, arrows that they shoot, etc. A bow without arrows is virtually useless, except as a fire starter. A sling without stones or bullets is even less useful. I guess you could use it as a garrote, maybe? That's the only thing. Make bootlaces for, I don't know. Also, since money in the game is generally in coin form, most player characters will not be carrying a lot of currency. While on a quest or mission, make sure your player characters are keeping track of that as well, because they can only carry so much. And if they're carrying gear, it lowers the amount of money they can carry. If they're carrying a buttload of money, they're not carrying a whole lot of gear. You see what I'm saying? My advice to my son was very simple. If they don't have it, they can't use it. If that costs a player character or 3 their lives, so be it. They will learn, eventually, to hit the shops and stock up beforehand, before they leave town. Hunting, fishing, and foraging are useful skills to have. Now, in my player's situation earlier, the stone walls were stone walls. There was no vegetation. There were no roots. There were no mushrooms. There was nothing they could eat. We're talking bare stone. They had to turn to cannibalism. There was nothing to hunt. There was no fishing. After they left that stream, there was no fishing. And there was nothing to forage. So, but if you're out in the woods or out in the wilderness, or you have something that you can hunt, forage, or fish, then there you go. Those are useful skills. Clerics can create food, but if you're relying on that, you have planned poorly. Here's something to consider, especially if you're in a dungeon crawl, spelunking in the Underdark. If you've been in the Underdark for a month or more, every intelligent denizen that's there knows that you are probably relying on that cleric for food. So he becomes a target. Why? It's common sense. Also, most denizens of the underworld, of the Underdark, worship their own gods. So clerics from the surface would be an affront to their faith. Druids would be a bit more acceptable to them, but I don't know, maybe not by much, I don't know. Just depends on the god. But my contention is, if you run into a bunch of drow and you have a cleric of Thor, yeah, that dude's a target. Because Lolth hates other pantheons, I'm just saying. And as theological as drow elves are, yeah, they're going to attack that guy forthwith. Just saying. Beasts of burden can be useful because as your food runs out, they can be slaughtered. And it's going to sound bad, but horse meat, as well as mule and donkey, is delicious. If prepared properly. Just food for thought. Some underground areas with streams and wells are damp. This is another thing to consider. This means there's plenty of water. It also means that metal implements, such as weapons and armor, are more susceptible to rust. Oil becomes imperative. Oil is a weight that you have to carry. It has encumbrance value. Also, take note of how long torches and lanterns last. Characters without infravision will be really, really screwed without a light source. Check out my Advanced Dungeons & Dragons hack video on flashlights. Just a few things to think about when your group heads into the darkness. Hope this finds everybody well. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all. We elect cookie-cutter politicians every single election cycle. Yes men who maintain the status quo and do just enough to make us believe the system still works. Imagine, if you will, a president who actually tries to fix things. If you like action, political intrigue, and a righteous crusade, check out my political thriller, The Righteous President.